Welcome back, friends. Pull up a chair, keep your feet off the coffee table, and Miss Belinda says one more time, use a coaster for your drinks. She's getting tired of cleaning up after us. Anyway, today we're going to talk about the day the possum got saved. Now listen, I've seen some strange things in my life. I've seen a squirrel steal a communion wafer. I've seen a deacon fall asleep mid-prayer and keep right on snoring like it was part of the liturgy. I've even seen a preacher baptize a man so hard he came up speaking 2 languages. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for the day the possum got saved. It was a revival in Mercer County, one of those big tent meetings where the preacher sweats, the choir shouts, and the mosquitoes tithe in blood. Folks were fanning themselves with hymnals like they were trying to take flight. Sister Mabel had already passed out twice, once from the spirit, once from the heat, and nobody was entirely sure which was which. The preacher was right in the middle of saying, "The devil is a roaring lion," when the tent flap opened, and in walked a possum. Not running, not sneaking, just strolling in like he had a reserved seat. Now this possum wasn't scared of nobody. He strutted right down the center aisle like he was late for choir practice. The preacher froze, the choir froze, the entire congregation froze, except for Sister Mabel, who screamed, "It's the devil!" and climbed onto the nearest folding chair like she was escaping a flood. The possum looked around, sniffed the air, and then, I swear on a stack of cornbread, he climbed up onto the pulpit, right next to the Bible, like he was about to read the scripture. The preacher, bless his heart, grabbed the baptismal bucket, the one they used for emergency dunkings and children who wouldn't hold still. He hollered, "The power of Christ compels you," and threw the water. Now the possum ducked, the choir didn't. Suddenly we had 1 soaked soprano, 2 drenched altos, and a tenor who slipped, fell, and slid halfway under the communion table like a penguin on ice. The possum just blinked, shook off a few drops, and looked offended. That possum took off like he'd been personally insulted. He ran under the pews, over hymnals, and straight through the tent flap. Half the congregation chased him, not because they wanted to catch him, but because panic is contagious, and no one wanted to be the last one eaten by a demon-possessed marsupial. The preacher stood there dripping wet, his hair plastered to his forehead, and said the most honest thing I've ever heard a preacher say. Well, that escalated quickly. Later that night, after the chaos settled and the choir dried out, the preacher said something wise. He said, "You know, maybe that possum didn't come to cause trouble. Maybe he just needed a little grace." And I thought about that. Because sometimes the people who wander into our lives, the messy ones, the loud ones, the scared ones, the ones who don't fit in, they're not interruptions, they're invitations, even if they have a tail and play dead when startled. So if you ever find yourself in a church and something unexpected happens, a baby cries, a phone rings, a possum wanders in, don't get mad, smile, because you never know. That might just be the Lord's way of keeping things interesting. This is John Hart, and this has been the day the possum got saved. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, share, and follow. Until next time, God bless you, and I'll see you on down the road.